Hey everyone, to whomever is gonna look at this video. This is a tuning video for the Lenco motor sold by Lenco Solutions, and Lena asked me to make a small tuning video which could be some kind of a basis for everyone purchasing this motor. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. To give you some context, this board configuration is 19S2P with P45B's cells, the Lenco motor, and the VESC or the ESC is a U-Box 250A. And this is paired with a big tire from Burris. Something important also I want to mention is that I am a fairly light rider, so I weigh around 65 to 66 kilograms. And this is a trail board. This is not for street, this tuning is not for street. You can use it on the street for sure, that might be a bit stiff and not very nice. But that being said, even though this is going to be a trail profile, I still like to have a somewhat very responsive board, but also kind of buttery. So this is the logic that there is behind this tuning. And finally, this board is being tuned under float config, not refloat, though I think it doesn't make that big of a difference. So now you will see a couple of pictures, kind of a slideshow, right? And then after that, I will give you a speech to what is exactly the logic behind this tune. If you don't want it, that's fine. You can just stop the video after you've seen the pictures. And if you want to see the full logic behind, just stay put, and it's not gonna be too long, I promise. Okay, let's try this again. Now I have a timer in front of me, so I don't talk too much. Um, there's only one thing you need to know that is very important on how you want to shape the tune around this motor, and that is it is a bit less snappy than a hypercore, for instance. But the advantage is that it doesn't saturate as fast. So you've seen that I have put my IMU setting on one of the screenshots, and the reason is that once I have set my IMU, I don't want to touch to the constant tiltback thing. I just don't want to touch it. I want to have a nice IMU setup, and one way of knowing that your IMU is well tuned, for instance, especially regarding the pitch, that is, look at your knees. If your knees have the same bent angle, then you're good. So if the board is a bit more like this, you'll have one knee bent more than the other, and that's not really good. That's not what you want, especially if you have extends, and the extend are kind of infamous for lacking physical clearance. So because this motor is a bit less snappy, so what that means is that the motor is going to be a bit less responsive regarding the PID settings, but also the Mahoney. That's why they are so high. Also keeping in mind that this is a tune for trail riding, potentially racing. So that is why we have to play so much on the torque tiltback. If you're riding a hypercore also on trails or in a competitive scenario, then of course you're gonna also use a torque tiltback. But I'm a bit in doubt that you will have such crazy values that we have right now. The logic behind is simply that you set your IMU correctly so that the board is more or less perfectly parallel to the ground. Alright, again, this story about the knees. Then, once you accelerate really strongly, the torque tiltback is going to be really playing and kicking the nose back to you. But as you've seen, the limit is 8 degrees, but nobody wants to ride with board 8 degrees like that. No, this is literally almost Captain Morgan. But the thing is that because it is completely proportional to the current that is being drawn by the motor, it's going to stabilize at some point. Let's say you are accelerating extremely strongly, you're going to have a kick, and then you stabilize your speed at 30 kph for instance, then the current is going to drop, so does the torque feedback response. And that's how you achieve coming back to a somewhat board that is parallel to the ground. But because we are riding trails, and especially here in the Netherlands where we have a lot of routes, but in your case that could be a lot of rocks or any kind of other obstacles, you still need to have kind of extra clearance, a bit more than what you will have with just the IMU tune. That is why the torque tailback is set up in this way. You can modify it, of course, as you're liking, because as I said at the beginning, I'm just 65 kilograms. So if you are 80 kilograms, this 0.10 degrees per amp, you may want to rise this up a bit. So maybe 0.12, 0.13. And the logic and the reasoning is exactly the same with turn tailback. This is really something that you need to tune a bit for yourself. Just take this as a basis, and if you see that you are a bit nose dragging, you're lacking power or you're lacking clearance when you have a sharp turn or something, just raise it up. And finally, a setting that you can play with besides the torque tailback regarding the stiffness of the board is of course going back to the PID settings, and that's going to be your angle eye and the eye term limit. The feeling that you have from it is that the more you ramp it up, the stiffer the board becomes. So again, that's kind of your preference. Even though this board is going to go on the trail, I still like to have somewhat not such a plank of wood below my feet. So that's it for the tuning. I hope it really helps you out, and yeah, have fun with the motor.